Okay, so finally getting back to this air compressor after like a year and a half. Evidently, I forgot to press record when I was putting the crankshaft in. So where we stopped with this is I had taken it apart because the bearings were bad. Was looking for the old bearings and I could not find them. And then I just kind of stopped because I had to find parts. So this is an Ingersoll Rand 2475 air compressor. Better known as a Model T30. There's lots of them out there. In this particular case, it's a single phase 220 5 horsepower motor that'll power it. And I'm going to use this to increase the air capacity in the shop because I think this one has somewhere around 19 cubic feet a minute compared to the Craftsman that I currently have. There are two bearings on this crankshaft. There's this bearing right here that you can see, and then there's another bearing in there behind the counterweight in there. If you can see the counterweight right there. So anyway, what you have to do is you have to drive the drive shaft or the crankshaft in this way, but there is a there's this little C clamp or C nut or whatever you want to call it in there, basically a retainer. So what I did is I drove it all the way through just using a rubber mallet here. It's not very hard. I drove it all the way through and actually put it out a little bit and then put the C-clamp back on there and then just tapped the end out through basically to where it was flush. Because if you look at the end cap here, there's actually a space right here. I'm tipping my thumb. That space right there is for the clamp or the retainer. And then you have the space for the edge of the bearing. And then the gasket that goes on top of that. So what I'm going to do, other things that I've done already on this project is I've gone ahead. There was some surface rust on the piston sleeve surfaces. Gone ahead and cleaned all that up. Cleaned all the nuts and bolts up because they've been sitting for a while, so it was nice and rusty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install this cover right here with a seal on it. And I'm going to need to set you up in the tripod to do that. I'm going to stare at the messy floor for just a second. Okay. Try to keep my arms out of the way here. And now naturally, like I said, I've done all this and I forgot to press record or something. That's why it's not on camera. So I actually already went ahead and got a new seal in here right there. What I was going to say about Ingersoll Rand is I'm fairly disappointed. You know, they're really great compressors, but I'm fairly disappointed in their parts availability. Well, first off, parts are expensive. OEM parts are very expensive. So this is all the parts I'm using here aftermarket. I did put some grease on the crank seal right there. So all the parts I am using are aftermarket, which is fine. The only problem I really have with aftermarket is the company I got them from. And if you can see the picture of, well, let me see if you can see this. I'll go ahead and take it out of the bag. So I don't need these because I'm just going to leave the piston assemblies as they are. So the picture online actually showed this being an Ingersoll part. So it had an IR, the part number. And when I got them, they had ground them off. So evidently they're just, you know, didn't quite meet the specs of Ingersoll. So, you know, they did something. I'm not really sure. But they had the IR spec on there. Maybe these were some casting marks, but the picture was not what actually showed up in my mailbox. For the price that I paid, I'm not really going to complain. I'm going to have less than $500 in this air compressor when I get done. And I'll have to look up the torque specs for these. I'm just going to snug them up a little bit right now. My phone is almost dead. And so I'll have to look up the torque specs here in a little bit. But So I'm not really impressed with their parts availability or their parts prices. Basically, I called Ingersoll, and they're like, oh, you have to find a dealer. Well, then you use your website to find a dealer to buy parts, and the closest dealer is over 3 hours away, which that doesn't make any sense. There's a couple Ingersoll dealers here in town, but you ask them about air compressor parts. Oh, I don't know about that. You figure a place that's going to sell Ingersoll products should probably sell parts, but you know, it is what it is. I now know why people don't often rebuild these, or find it a little bit of a effort and futility to rebuild them. So this end is done. There is nothing on the far end to support the crankshaft. So now what we have to do, we'll turn it around here. Make sure you can see this. Now what we're going to have to do is we need to come in here, and I need to put the, so we have our new crank pin right here. Find a way to get in it. So how these work, and the sad part is these are actually very rebuildable. It looks like I'm going to require a little lube to go on there, so I'll have to come back and do that off camera. These are very rebuildable units. I mean, the components they should be cheap enough to manufacture, you know, so it beats me why parts are so hard to find. But we're going to get this one rebuilt. I think that's it for this video because it's getting late here and got to go to work tomorrow. So the next series of this video, we'll go ahead. I'll get this installed before I leave tonight. I just don't think the GoPro is going to make it. Looks like I have like 5% battery left. I'll go ahead and get this installed, and then what we're going to do is we will install the cylinder heads. Which, pick the camera up here for a look. So here is just one of the cylinders right here. We just left them whole. That way we're not messing with anything in the head. And so we're going to go ahead and install those next. So that'll be the next installment. And then I don't think it'll take very much. And this will be running and we'll have more air in the shop. So thanks for watching.